South Central Los Angeles. The area is known the world over as a hub for violence, crime, and danger 24/7. But despite the reputation, however justified, an inner-city community can come together around a treasured resident like any other American suburb. We look at the story of Ezell Ford, a 25-year-old African-American man who was fatally wounded with multiple gunshots by LAPD officers on August 11, 2014. Ford was the oldest of 7 children and grew up in the same neighborhood for the majority of his life. Relatives say Ezell was mentally ill and, according to his parents, was diagnosed with depression, bipolar disorder, and schizophrenia. He took medicine to help him cope, and many in the area, including local police, knew this. Friends and neighbors like Brown described him in a positive light. It was said that the close-knit community took care of him because of his illness, with many scoffing at the notion that he was involved in any serious nefarious crimes in the neighborhood.
Something told me, no, get to know who he is as a person. So once I started getting familiar with everyone in that neighborhood, I got to know who Ezell was. And sometimes it's kind of hard for me to say Ezell because it's I didn't know him as Ezell. I knew him as Easy. So Easy became a brother to us. He came to our house and ate dinner. He used to like cigarettes. He used to ask for cigarettes. It was just our neighborhood became to watch over Ezell.
But on this fateful night, both officers would make their most high-profile arrest, one that only adds fuel to the fire in the struggle against police brutality.
August 11th, Ezell was walking home. I remember I was in my kitchen cooking dinner, and he was walking home, and I seen the police cars out there, but I was still cooking dinner. So I went back into the kitchen, minding my business, and my nephew was outside playing, and I never will forget it because when I heard the first gunshot, I said, them gunshots. My sister said, nah, them fireworks. So I said, okay. So then I heard the second gunshot. Then I knew it was a gunshot. So then I ran outside, and my first instinct was to snatch my nephew in the house.
2 officers shot and fatally wounded a mentally ill young man in the middle of the community where he was beloved.
2 gang officers with the Newton Division approached the 25-year-old South Los Angeles resident as he was walking home. The LAPD says Ford, who's been described as a mentally challenged man, jumped on one of the officers and tried to grab the officer's gun.
Ford was shot by police in South LA last month. Officers said it happened while he was wrestling for one of their guns, but witnesses told a very different story.
After I snatched him in the house, then it took a long time for the ambulance to come. Then at that time, his mom came and she was trying to get to see, was that her kid? At that point in time, LAPD had basically pushed her down on the ground. They had did it to where they had got Ezell on a gurney and put him in the ambulance to drive him off to the hospital.
Ford was taken to a nearby medical facility where he was pronounced dead at 10:10 p.m. Ford's mother said police refused to inform her where her son was hospitalized.
But at that point in time, the way that they crowded the streets with police, it was could no one get out, could no one get in. And I believe it stayed like that till 6 in the morning. We couldn't even get out for work and stuff. Over there on 65th and Broadway, the policing is very heavy. They'll get you for anything. I remember one day I was walking down the street with my baby going to the store, and it was 8 o'clock at night. And they had some guys on the wall, and they told me, you get on the wall. And I told them, how dare you tell me to get on the wall and you see me walking with my child? I'm walking to the store. I know my rights. You guys are not going to make me get on this wall. And I kept walking with my baby. But I knew at that time they could have did anything to me. They could have shot me in my back how they did him, because they basically could have said I was refusing their order. But thank God they didn't do that to me and my child. They just let us walk. And then when I came back, the guys on the block told me, you was cool. If they would have did something, we would have did something. But it's it shouldn't even have to be to where that happened to you with your kid. So over there on 65th, I had to move from over there because it brought more drama into my life staying there because of the people that was lost on that block. And now when we pass by, they have a picture of Ezell on the building that I stayed at, and my baby always walked by and say, "Mom, that's easy." And then we'll just say, "Yeah." And then like it was hard to explain to the kids that, because my nephew kept asking, "Well, when we gonna see Easy? When we gonna see Easy?" And it was hard to tell a 4-year-old that you're not gonna see him no more.
Investigations by LAPD Chief Charlie Beck, Inspector General Alex Bustamante, and the Board of Police Commissioners concluded that the officers were justified in the shooting. However, the latter investigation also concluded that Ford's civil rights were violated by detaining him, and the officers failed to adhere to policy, saying they did not have just cause to initially draw their weapons or suspect Ford was in possession of drugs.
The officer's partner then fired 2 rounds, striking Mr. Ford. At about the same time, the officer on the ground, while on his back, grabbed his backup weapon, reached around Mr. Ford, and fired 1 shot at close range, striking Mr. Ford in the back. The coroner's autopsy identified that Mr. Ford's death was caused from a fatal gunshot wound to his right flank and a contact wound to his right back. The coroner also found evidence of a non-fatal gunshot wound to Mr. Ford's right arm. There is nothing in the coroner's report that is inconsistent with the statements given to us by the officers. We still are searching for witnesses. We still are looking for other versions of events. But at this point, and this is not a conclusion, this is based on the fact patterns given us by the officers, and then months later the fact pattern released by the coroner.
A month after the shooting, Ford's family announced they had filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the LAPD, claiming the officers had engaged in an unlawful search and seizure, denied him due process, used excessive force, and violated his civil rights. They said Ford may not have understood police orders in the moments before he was shot. Beck will be deposed in the trial, which is set for November 2015.
For this to happen to him, it didn't only affect us, it affected our kids. Because at that time, my baby was 1 year old, and she was on a balcony yelling, "Hands up, don't shoot." And that like brought a lot of attention to me, because it's like, this is a kid, she's 1. What does she know about hands up, don't shoot? So then we like got in the streets, I marched, I did everything to try to help his mom, because it's like she can't really be out here because she's a mother that has kids. So I always tell them if it's a march or something, I'm going to go on behalf of him, because he was like a brother to me. We're doing it so it won't really affect them. So then when they do get older, like my baby I know she'll always say, because this is what I do. So she'll always say like, "My mom did this for me." So this is a way that I can give back to her to try to make it better for her when she's my age, so she won't have to go through as much as we endured. So basically trying to fix it now before like it really, really, like, because I'm pretty sure like now she'll forget it once she get older. Well, hopefully she'll forget it. But like I just don't want her to, because my nephew, he's 5 now and he remembers. So like I just don't want her to be like him, because I don't want her to feel like like the police damaged her, because I remember the police tried to give my nephew like a little sticker badge, and he told him, "No, I don't want anything from you guys. You guys kill people." And the police said, "That's what you're teaching your kid?" And I had to tell him, "No, that's what you're teaching him." Because that's where he's learning it from. It's not us teaching him, "No, the police is bad." It's what he's seen. So that's what a kid is gonna say. So now it's just like, I give it all I got, to where I'm out here, I'm chanting, I'm doing what I have to do, because it's like these kids have to know that somebody cares. So I look at it like that. I hope that it improves, because they need to realize that Black lives do matter. Like our kid lives do matter. And I thank God that God made me a mom for me to see it, because if I wasn't a mother, I don't think that I will see it. But I know that this can affect my baby. I know at any day my baby life can be taken away from her.
So what will it take? Protests around the city have called for police reform and justice in the name of Ezell Ford and Michael Brown, another young man who had died 2 days prior. When will we see a change in the way our society is policed? Brandy Brown and many others are trying to mobilize and fight the system on the ground.
People can't take no more. Hopefully, I know it won't stop right away, but hopefully it will stop, because like it's some cops that we talk to and we ask them like why, and some say like they're all, like it's not all of them. So we can't hold every police accountable for what one did. So basically it's just like, hopefully that we get the bad cops out and that the cops that mean well, they do well. I will hope one day that we can do this, but until now, until then, I guess we can just give it all we got to try and make it better, because like I said, it's not going to be done overnight. If it will ever be done, it will be a blessing to all of us. But I don't know. I can't call that one. I can just hope and pray that one day it will stop. If we do nothing, if we see nothing, nothing will be done. So if you see it, say you seen it. If you hear us out here chanting, come join us. We can't do it alone. We can't do it by ourselves. I just kind of feel like, because some people be like, oh, yeah, we need this to stop. But then you sitting at home on your couch watching Judge Joe Brown, or you doing something else. Get out here in the streets with us. We're young. We're out here young. And I hear all the older people saying, well, we need, get out here and help us. We can't do it by ourselves. It's better to see us out here in the streets than see us out here gang banging.